Bonjour cake friends, today we have got a French pastry inspired video for you. Today I'm going to show you how to turn the humble cream puff or profiterole into a croquembouche, which is an elegant tower that is actually used as a French wedding cake. I'm going to put a festive spin on it because 'tis the season, but feel free to decorate it with whatever you'd like, sugar flowers, isomalt, any decorations you'd like. I would love to hear in the comments from you if you enjoyed this French pastry style video and if you want to see more like this instead of all cakes all the time. Let me know there in the comments. While you're there, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on anything else that's coming up. Grab your pastry bags, turn on your twinkle lights, and let's create this show-stopping croquembouche centerpiece together. I'm starting off by making a batch of choux, and yes, that is not S-H-O-E, it's spelled C-H-O-U-X. And you can either check out my recipe in the Finespun Cakes Academy or just use your favorite cream puff and pastry cream recipe. It's all pretty much gonna work the same here. But of course I am a little biased and I do think mine tastes best. So I am piping out the choux here into even rounds. We're gonna egg wash those, score them with a fork, and this just makes sure that they rise evenly, and we're gonna place those into the oven. We rotate about halfway through. When they are a little bit more brown than this, I actually rotated them too early, so don't do that. And next we are making a batch of pastry cream. So this is our classic vanilla bean pastry cream. So delicious, but feel free to use any flavor that you'd like. Don't make a mess like that. Now tempering our pastry cream, rotating our choux once more, and then whisking and whisking until the pastry cream is all together. How good does that look? Anyway, now we are spreading it out on our sheet. And I'm gonna try and make this as even as possible too. Covering the surface with plastic wrap, and we are ready to go. So all of our choux are completely cooled to room temperature now, and they are nice and crispy. So I have separated the kind of prettier ones and the not quite as pretty ones, which I don't think are gonna make quite as nice of a croquembouche because they're not exactly super round. I generally look for like a really nice puffy round shape, and that is the ideal shape that we really wanna look for. So I've put the good ones here. There are 60 in total, and we have poked holes in the bottom of each of these using an Ateco 800 tip. Any small round tip is gonna work perfectly, but it's really easy. You just poke a hole into the bottom so that we can insert another piping tip in there to fill it with pastry cream. Our pastry cream is also chilled down. So remove the top plastic wrap and it should peel right off like so. Then what I like to do is kind of roll it up into almost like a little Japanese omelet. And you can take this and put it right into your mixing bowl. So it's quite stiff right now, and we want to loosen that up just a little bit. So we'll put it into our mixer with our whisk attachment and let this run just until it's smooth. Do not overmix this, otherwise it's going to start to lose its structure. So it should still be really nice and thick and hold its shape, but it shouldn't have big lumps or chunks anymore. I've got my Ateco 840 tip in with just a normal fabric piping bag, and I'm gonna fill this bag up about halfway. Again, you don't want to overfill your bag, otherwise it's going to be really annoying. Okay, now we can begin filling our choux, but it's quite simple. You just stick your piping tip right in there, and you want to fill it up until you can feel pressure kind of pushing your piping bag out, and then you'll see there's extra pastry cream that comes out, which is normal. Just wipe it on the side of your bowl to get rid of the excess, and then place it down. And you'll just fill these all the same way. So as you're filling, you're going to need to refill your piping bag. So again, use your bench scraper to clean it out. Just make sure all that pastry cream is scraped down to the bottom and then refill the whole bag all at once. So as you're making your croquembouche, you could also use whipped cream filling, like a chantilly cream, if you want something a little bit lighter. You could do different flavors of pastry cream. So this one is flavored just with vanilla bean, but we also love flavoring pastry cream with chocolate, hazelnut paste, whatever kind of thicker paste you'd like. There's so many recipes for different pastry creams online, so I'm sure you could find a flavor that you love. You could also use mousse. Any type of soft filling that's pipeable, I think would be okay. So when you are filling your choux, hot tip is just to fill it up, as I mentioned, until the piping bag feels like there's some pressure going back on it, but also your choux should feel quite heavy now. You're gonna be able to tell a huge difference between like a full one and an empty one. As you get a little bit more experience as you go through all of them, you'll be able to feel if it's actually full or not quite full enough. We are ready to dip our choux in sugar. So first, of course, we need to make the caramel. And I'm scaling out 500 grams of just plain granulated sugar. And then I'm going to scale out 150 grams of corn syrup, which is 30% by weight. And I would prefer having clear corn syrup, but we only have the brown one, so we're just gonna work with it. This just helps prevent crystallization. You can also use glucose. Just a little bit harder with brown corn syrup, of course, to see when your sugar is caramelizing. You can always use a thermometer. And I'm gonna cook a dry caramel. You can cook either wet or dry, whichever you prefer, i.e. you could add the water now and let that cook off, or you can cook it just like this. So I'm using a fork to stir this to prevent any crystallization from happening, but the corn syrup should be there to help with that as well. So I'm just wiping down the sides of the pot with water and a clean pastry brush. And this just helps prevent crystallization. It will help your caramel cook a little bit more evenly. So we are cooking this caramel to 170 Celsius. Just waiting for it to finish. I'm gonna stop it a little bit early because it's going to continue to heat up in the pot because the pot's still gonna have residual heat. So I think I'm gonna stop it at like 160, oh, now. So next we wanna put it in this ice bath. Well, it's just cold water, but it's gonna stop the cooking process. So just keep it there for a little bit. I'm gonna place it back on the induction burner, but I'm not gonna turn that on right now. If your caramel begins to harden, then you can turn it back on, or if it gets too thick. But right now this looks good. It's quite clear. We're just waiting for some bubbles to go away, and then it should be ready to use. So I will wear gloves for this because I always burn myself. And I'd like to avoid that today. And I've got a 10-inch white cake board here. I've got some towels here. I'm actually gonna prop my sugar like this so that it's a little bit easier to dip. And we are putting 11 choux at the bottom. Couple options. We could dip each one of them in sugar, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm grabbing it really just like as far down as possible. This is super hot, guys. Please be careful. I'm just gonna dip and then remove the excess and place it down. So this is one option. You can do this for each of them if you want the extra caramel or that shiny look. I might do like half and half, half naked and then half dipped like that. So let's dip these guys. I'm rewarming my caramel a little bit. You can come take a look at all of our choux that are covered. So they just have a really nice light caramel covering. I like to do this when the caramel is still quite fresh and hot, so that the layer doesn't become super thick. So my caramel is reheated now. It is nice and liquid. So we can remove that. If it starts getting too dark, put it back into your cooling bowl and then it will stop the cooking altogether. But I think it should be okay right now. I'll just keep an eye on it. We are ready to assemble. I always try and grab choux that are about the same size for the base, and I'm gonna do the naked ones for the base and then work my way up, alternating between the shiny and then the naked. So I'm just gonna put these aside. We want 11 on our base. I actually did a couple extra. I think I did about 66 in total. I'm gonna dip the side in caramel, and then I'm going to stick it right on my board. And there is literally no moving this after it's set, so make sure you like the spot that it's in. And you're gonna work your way around. I like to kind of play with the choux first to make sure I like the way it's fitting before I commit to putting it anywhere. So this one's gonna fit in right here. I'm gonna dip this side and the bottom as well. If you kind of just dip on that angle there, that usually does the trick. So I'm kind of smushing them together, really making sure they adhere. So the way to know how many choux you're going to need, usually each layer has one fewer than the one before. So we're starting off with 11, then we're gonna go to 10, 9, 8, etc., etc. Sometimes it's not perfect, that's why we have extra, but it's a good starting point. Otherwise, you're just gonna be guessing, and that's not good, because if you get to the top, as I have before, and I had no choux left, you have to be really creative to figure out how to fill that space. And of course, make sure that you're going in a really nice round circle. We don't want any weird angles. Figure out where your last ones are going before you add them on. And for our final one in the row, we want to put a little bit on either side and then at the other side of the base. And I would just let this sit until the caramel feels solid. Like our first ones here are already ready to go, so this should just take a minute or so. For our next layer, we are going to do approximately 10 of the caramel covered ones. And you just want to smush them between the two so they're staggered. And you probably want to hold them in place just until they feel secure enough. So the caramel was reheated just until it was nice and liquid again. And again, we're testing out which choux we like in which spot each time we put it in, because sometimes they just won't really fit properly. And be very careful with this. Caramel burns are no joke. It's extremely hot, like 170 Celsius, so far above boiling. So yes, I would have a cold water bath nearby just in case. And the way that I'm lining these up, I'm actually looking from above to see if it's just coming inwards a little bit. I don't look so much from the side, although of course that's important, but to get the proper shape, you have to look from above. And sometimes you get to the end and it's kind of an awkward spot and you're not really sure what to put there. So you can either do one bigger one like this and kind of just cheat it in there and like push those in a little bit, or you can try and fit two smaller ones. I'm not sure we're going to be able to, but we can try. We don't have like a ton of small guys. Yeah, I think it would be too tight. So let's just grab one of our bigger ones like this and it will work. Just put a good amount of caramel on that so that it doesn't move around. And then you can kind of smush it into place. And I didn't mention yet, but croquembouche are meant to be eaten the day that they're made, because the pastry cream needs to be chilled and you cannot put caramel in the fridge. So it's really what they call an à la minute type dessert. You should make it and eat it immediately. as stressful as it is to like make for a party or something, it is really fun. So when you're at the last layer, what I usually like to do, I've added 3 here, and I think I'm gonna add 2 like this, and then I'm gonna add 1 on top. So I'll attach these together first. So really make sure this one is set, and then I put one aside that I thought would be nice for the top. And just dip the bottom of that and place it on top. Then we are ready to do some spun sugar.
Some fine spun.
Fine spun sugar. I cut this whisk so that I could have a spun sugar device and it would be faster for me. So basically your caramel needs to be hardening just a little bit so that you can create these strings. And then you just wrap them around your croquembouche. You can also make like pieces of this on parchment paper if you want it to be a bit fluffier and kind of like away from the croquembouche itself. But usually I do it like this because I do like a cleaner look. And this will definitely begin to melt quickly. So that is why we need to do this last minute. It's not like an ideal dessert to be traveling. Sorry, in the summer, not ideal in the summer, or not ideal to travel at all. Because there's humidity in the air always. So I thought it might be fun to kind of make this into a full centerpiece. So I turned it into a bit of a Christmas tree. I added some twinkle lights, just like really cheap ones from the dollar store. Of course, remove those before you want to eat them. And we added a little star cookie on top. And I think this would make a perfect centerpiece for your holiday gatherings. Thank you so much for watching. Again, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this pastry-focused video. I would love to make more of them for you if you do. Hit that subscribe button while you're there, like this video, and happy holidays. I will see you in the new year.